Birding. Welcome to the Partnership for International Birding video conference on birding in the Jalisco and Colima states of Mexico. Just to lay some ground rules down for the call, we really do love questions from participants. And there's sort of some natural places to break in. At any point in time, you can text me or Leo. I don't know who set up, I guess Leo set up was the host, so you can text your questions into Leo and he can provide them. And then there's about 6 natural geographic breaks in the presentation. At the end of each geographical break, we'll take 2 or 3 minutes for questions. And that format usually works pretty well. And when we take those geographic breaks, you can undo your microphone. And people have been great just doing it one at a time so that we get all the questions in. So again, questions are welcome. They're encouraged. Please text them in, but also feel free to just unmute and ask during those natural geographic breaks. We are going to cover 4 or 5 geographical areas today: the Chamela Biological Reserve, the Los Hoyos Biological Reserve, the Colima Volcano National Park, sort of other sites around Colima Volcano National Park, and then sort of the coastal tail end of the tour. Just a few bits about Luis, and then we'll dive in and do this. Luis has been a bird guide for 20 years. He is the executive director of the San Pancho Bird Observatory. He's been dedicated his whole life to sort of bird conservation education. Everybody finds his skill sets as a bird's guide and his experience, which I think we'll show during the presentation today, makes for an enjoyable tour. Beyond birds, he loves mammals, tropical ecosystems, and is always happy to share a bit of Mexican culture during the tour. With no further ado, Luis Morales, the show is yours. Go for it.
Thank you for the introduction, and welcome everyone. So I hope you enjoy this presentation. As Charles said, your questions are welcome. So to get started with this tour, I will start by showing you a map of Western Mexico. So here is a Google Maps view of the area. You can see in the center of the screen like a little square, and then on the bottom left you can see the states of Jalisco and Colima, which is actually it's actually the smallest state in Mexico, and one of the peculiarities of this area where we are in is that if you see the general map of Mexico, it goes, we are in something called the transvolcanic belt, that is this mountain range, this chain of volcanoes that goes from Veracruz, on the Gulf of Mexico, all the way to the border between the states of Jalisco and Colima. So not only we have this mountain range that sort of connects the 2 areas of Mexico in between, the Gulf and the Pacific, but also we are kind of in the northernmost tropical jungle in the continent, and still within what is considered the transition zone between the neotropical and the Nearctic. Actually, if you see in the upper part of the area of the map, you can see that it looks much like a drier terrain as you go up north. So we are in this hotspot of biodiversity, and as you will learn today, we have many endemic species in this area that it's not only very rich in terms of biodiversity, but also in terms of its culture and its cuisine. So yeah, please, expect, some like enchanting and colorful Mexican culture, as well as tasty cuisine and some amazing landscapes. So this is a general overview of the trip. We're going to start our tour from the Manzanillo International Airport, which is on the coast in the state of Colima. And from there, we will, on the first day, we will travel to San Patricio Melaque, which is a coastal village, just about an hour east or northeast from the airport. And we will spend the first couple of nights there. Most of the trip will be driving through this area that you see circled in blue. And every day, that we travel from one location to another, we designed the trip in such a way that we only spend 3 to 4 hours of driving maximum per day between one location and another. And then from the areas where we will be staying, we will be perhaps doing short field trips to specific sites. So the first 2 days will be in the San Patricio Melaque area. Then we will travel to Autlan de Navarro, which is north, about 3 hours, as I said. We will visit near Autlan Las Joyas Biosphere Preserve, and from there we will go to Ciudad Guzman, which is in Jalisco. Also, Autlan is in Jalisco. We will visit some of the sites that are on Jalisco state, but also as part of this volcanic area, that is the Parque Nacional Volcán de Colima, and part of the national park is in Jalisco, part is in the state of Colima. So during days 5 to 8, we will visit different sites, around the volcanoes. It will be mostly a higher elevation birding. Probably we will get to about 2,500 meters above sea level. To then come back, for the last 2 days back to the coast to Manzanillo, to explore different mangrove sites, and lowland forests, for any species that we have missed. The weather during the first days will be hot and humid. The temperature range will be, during the trip, will be between 12 to 13 degrees Celsius, which is about 65 to the mid-90s in Fahrenheit. And so during the coastal days, it's going to be a little more hot and humid. Also in here, it's the winter, so it's a little cooler, but nothing, we're still in a tropical area. So probably the temperature will range, between, the coastal areas, maybe up to the 25, 30 degrees. And we will do most of the birding as usually during the early hours of the morning, and then some more birding in the evenings, with a break, in the lunchtime, we'll have some rest time. The idea is also to have an easy pace, right? So that's the general overview of the trip. In here, we have sort of the same view of the map we saw earlier, but this is from the eBird perspective. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this citizen science platform. And so we can see the same map, and you can see these sites, around the area where we are visiting. And I will just speak in general about the bird diversity in Mexico. So Mexico has 1,120 species, of which about 10%, 118, are endemic. Jalisco has a record of 594 species, with 52 of them being endemic. And Colima, which, to be the smallest state in Mexico, has 509 species, and 46 of them are endemic. So I believe, typically on this tour, we get a list of about 250 species, and we're likely to get, around, 30 to 40 endemics, depending on the conditions and the ability of the group. So the first area that we are visiting, any questions here so far, or any comments before we continue?
Yeah, so we had that nice introduction. I think it's a good time to take a couple questions, sort of overview type questions, or we can save them until after the geographic break. Leo, did you get anything texted into you at all?
Nothing, Chuck.
Okay, then I think we get right into the
Continue.
bird. Yeah,
Okay.
let's get right into the bird watching, and any questions we'll pick up along the way. Drive in. Let's hear about the birds, man. That's what people love. Oh, you got a nice one here, orange-breasted bunting. Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I'm gonna
here, this is a view of the landscape, of the Chamela Preserve. This is a very different name to pronounce, but this is one of the oldest preserves, led by the National University of Mexico. And the habitat is mostly a low deciduous forest. And some of the highlights that we can find in this habitat are the citrulline trogon, golden-cheeked woodpecker, West Mexican chachalaca, yellow-winged cacique, orange-breasted bunting, and red-breasted chat. And of course, also the majestic black-throated magpie jay, which is portrayed in the Bird Bible for Mexico, which is this book that I have here by Howell and Webb, by the way. And it has a beautiful black-throated magpie jay, which is one of the birds we'll be seeing. So in here we have a yellow-winged cacique. This is going to be a very common sighting. They are very spectacular. They have this crazy hairdo, and their color is very vibrant, and their melodies, their songs are quite diverse, and very this is in the Oriole family. It's a tropical icterid. So we're also going to be seeing regularly the citrulline trogon, one of the jewels of endemics, endemic birds of Western Mexico. Here we have a front view, and a back view. These birds typically nest in cavities, and they like to be both in the low deciduous forest and in semi-deciduous forest. In here, in this area, we will also see the black-throated magpie jay, as well as the white-throated. You know, these are two species of two endemic species that overlap. So we are right in the overlap of the distribution range of this magnificent bird. You know, that is the magpie jays, and it's kind of one of the icons, or they are very iconic, you know, for Western Mexico, and no wonder why Steve Howell chose it to for the front cover of the Mexican Bird Bible. So and we can also find the hybrids, you know, of the two species. In here we have also the golden cheek woodpecker. It's also a very common bird, you know, from the Melanerpes genus. We see the female and the male with its golden cheeks, you know, and it's very vibrant red and yellow head. They are also quite colorful. And here we have a photo of the orange-breasted bunting, and these are also endemics to the area. We have the male on the upper part of the screen and the female. They are normally more like in shrubs and grassy areas. And also we have here the noisy West Mexican chachalacas. You know, they have a very conspicuous call. You know, they sound kind of like a broken engine. You know, I'm not gonna try to imitate my my chachalacas right now, but they have quite they're quite noisy, and they make such a cacophony that blends in, you know, with the diversity of bird sounds in these habitats. So the second general area that we will visit is the Sierra de Manantlan Biosphere Preserve, and I will wait to see if there are any questions here so far. Okay, I guess
yeah. So we did have one question from the crowd out there, and just how likely are we to see these species, these targets? I assume you find all the targets in these areas, all the ones you're putting out there. Are there times that you don't see anything of these target species?
You know, I think this time of the year, during December, it's very likely to see most of the species, of the highlight species that I am mentioning. You know, in general, there's you know, in the lower elevation areas that the vegetation won't be as lush as in the in the mountain forest, you know, in the higher elevation, or like the oak and pine forest. I think maybe in the oak and pine forest, like this Sierra de Manantlan Biosphere Preserve, I personally find the birding a little more challenging, you know, because it's more like a canopy birding, but I think with diligence, you know, we can get to see most of the target species.
Yeah, let me flip that question around. Out of the target species, who are the couple tougher, 2 or 3 that are tough to get?
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, did you get that question?
I didn't get it. If you can repeat
Yeah,
it.
no, I flipped the question around because, I mean, it's sort of hard to answer the question of, you know, which birds are, how tough is it to get these trips, these bird species. I mean, birding tours are generally designed to get the endemics, other nice species. things like black-throated magpie jay. I mean, I've birded in Mexico a couple times. I don't think I've ever missed it. I've even seen it on the hotel grounds before. But of the
Yes.
target species, what are the usual ones that are a little more difficult to get? Maybe that's a better question.
A better word. Yeah. So we will, at the end of the presentation, when we go back to the, to the lowland areas, I will cover some more of the more difficult ones. Like I believe like some difficult birds to see that are endemic that I'm actually not portraying. Are like the red-breasted chat, that likes to be. They are very skulky, and.
Yep.
But so far, the birds that I showed, I think they are fairly easy.
Okay.
Here in these areas, like at the Sierra de Manantlan Biosphere Preserve, that it's mostly like oak and pine, as well as a mountain forest. It might be a little more challenging. Actually, some of the birds like Colima warbler, it is not so easy to find. They
Yep.
do require knowing some specific sites where they like to hang around, and maybe they will require a little bit more of luck. But we have other birds that are like the blue-hooded euphonia, that are actually at this biosphere preserve of the Sierra de Manantlan, and at Las Joyas Biological Station. They can be a little more frequent to see, especially in well-preserved habitats. Birds like a red-faced tanager is relatively easy. The chestnut-sided shrike vireo, it's one bird that requires a lot of like auditive detection. Like sometimes we'll hear them, and with some luck we'll get to see them. Birds like a white-eared hummingbird are quite frequent, and we'll encounter them relatively easily. And we also have the second smallest, or I guess the smallest in the continent, a hummingbird, which is the bumblebee hummingbird. And they are relatively common to see, and we're very likely to see them during the trip, as well as what used to be called the magnificent hummingbird, and now it's called the Rivolis hummingbird.
I mean, I have to say, I really hate that name change.
Rivolis?
Yeah, I mean,
Magnificent
was such a great name for that bird, and now we have a raviolis on there. I mean, it's almost impossible to say.
Like Italian pasta.
Exactly. Okay, I think we'll cruise to the next area, and again, we'll take another break after this next little geographical bit. Thank you very, very much. Go for it, man.
So here are the images of some of the common hummingbirds we're likely to encounter. From left to right, we have the broad-billed hummingbird, white-eared hummingbird, and also the plain cap star-throat. It's a little misspelled there, but also here's a photo of the male red-headed tanager. You can see this bird is banded. It's actually, the photo was taken at Las Joyas Biological Station, where they have a long-term monitoring program for birds. This is the black-headed siskin. They will also be a common sighting. Very, very stunning bird, related to goldfinches. And in the next days, after spending a couple of days in the Sierra de Manantlan area, we go on to the Nevado de Colima National Park. So, which is not very far. Actually, you can see from the Sierra de Manantlan, you can actually see the volcanoes. So some of the species actually all the species are the same. I should have changed them, but I'm just gonna go with some of the species we can find in this area, like the golden browed warbler shown in the screen. Birds like this rufous cap warbler that it's also very, very common to see, together with other warblers like red-faced warbler, actually red warbler too, and other birds like crested one are also likely to occur in this area. Here we have a photo of male and female blue-hooded euphonias. And this is another view from the Colima Volcano National Park, from a view from La Hierbabuena, which is one of the sites that we're going to be visiting. And some of the birds that we can find in this area are the Aztec thrush. This bird in here is probably one of the most elusive ones, but with some luck, you know, we can see them. It's not very colorful. You can see it's mostly black and white, and they don't make a lot of noise, and they like to be oftentimes high in the trees. So this is one of the species that we are likely to encounter, although it's perhaps maybe one of the challenging ones. And here we have also a red-faced warbler, which it's going to be a relatively common sighting in the pine forest. These warblers, they like to move around in flocks with other birds like the slate-throated redstart, with other species like that are migratory. You know, we during this time of the year, we're very likely to see also many other migratory warblers and songbirds in general, spending the winter in the area. Here in the screen we have a transvolcanic jay. I really love this name. The formerly used to be called the Mexican jay, or actually before that a gray-breasted jay. And now they separated the species, and now on the west coast we have this transvolcanic jay that it's very this is very likely to encounter. They like to be in big flocks, you know, oftentimes with acorn woodpeckers, and they are very in general very easy to find and to detect by sound. One of the areas in the Colima Volcano National Park is Laguna Maria, which actually is the site on eBird with the largest number of species in the state of Colima. It has 329 species, and some of the birds are like the transvolcanic jay that I already showed, the red warbler, red-faced warbler, also a long-tailed wood partridge, and the tufted flycatcher. These are some of the species we are likely to encounter here. Here on the screen, well, here on this area, we also are likely to find the gray-crowned woodpecker. That is one of the endemics to this area. Here on the screen, we have a male flame-colored tanager that is also relatively easy to see in these high elevation sites. And of course, the mountain trogon, that it's also one of the specialties in these high elevation sites. Blue mockingbird, showing in the screen. The blue mockingbird, we are more likely to see them. With some luck, we can find them at some of the feeders of the sites where we will be staying. They like to come to feeders, but oftentimes we only hear them, because they are very vocal. They like to imitate other birds. They are in the mimid family, and with some luck we will get to see them, but we will hear them for sure, and with some luck we will be able to spot them. During the next days, during our last couple of days,
Hey, let's take a little break for questions here.
Yes.
We had this slow start with the introduction, and then we went through a bunch of sites. Any good questions out there, folks? Feel free to unmute and ask away. We're now sort of rocking it on the time frame. Somebody asked how likely to see the mountain Trogan. Boy, if you missed that, I'd worry. I assume you've never had a tour that you've missed the mountain Trogan, right?
Yes, yeah. So
and we will get out a frequency list on this tour to anybody participating in the phone call. We truly need to sort of catch up on our post-tour information on all of our video conferences, but we will follow up with a frequency list, so you can really answer those questions about how frequently you might see a bird. And of course there are some targets that you miss occasionally, but I have to say we usually have a pretty good track record. Any other questions out there, folks? And feel free to unmute if you would like.
Yeah, Charles, I have a question.
The good Dave. I can't say your last
My
name.
memory is that there's one or more endemic owls near the volcanoes. Do we have any opportunities to see them?
Yes. Here on, let me see. I'm just taking a look at my notes, David. Hold on, one question. So on, on day 6, we are, on the high elevation sides, we're likely to see like the buff-colored nightjar, western screech owl, and also in the lower elevations we have the Colima pygmy owl, which is also one of the endemics on lower elevations. And so yes, we are I think those will be some of the owls that we're likely to see. Let me try to find them here on my notes. We have a couple of owling sessions, and okay. For some reason I cannot find it here in my notes which day we are we're doing some early morning.
And so the bottom line is, how many times during the tour do you do some nocturnal stuff and
so we will do on this particular trip, we will do 2 crepuscular sessions, so
sure.
like before sunrise. So
you usually get these owls early in the morning.
Yes,
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
So nocturnal but early on the other side of things.
Exactly.
Interesting. Why not? And those early starts mean you're getting up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, maybe 4:30, 5.
Okay.
Because
Totally
the
reasonable.
sunrise is until like 6 in the morning. So we have, we get to the site, say, we would probably, 4 at the earliest.
I gotcha. So really not a very killer situation as those kind of things go. I truly have never, I don't know of any other birding tour where You get up early to get owls, but why not? I know of a guide from an Audubon group that does a lot of tourism that's kind of his preference. And I think it's a great thought. I mean, I'm an early riser myself. Good question. Any follow-up there, sir? And by sir, I mean the question asker.
No, I
Good.
think it was the Colima pygmy owl that I was referencing.
You're curious about it. So in terms of Colima MX, I'll ask the next question.
Yeah.
I have a strange number of clients who are terrified to go after the Colima warbler in Big Bend National Park in the United States because it's such a long hike. And so they're very keen to get the Colima warbler on this tour. How much of a walk is it? How I saw that it was listed for 2 or 3 sites. Is it, and you mentioned it's kind of tough to get, but out of say 20 trips, how often do you miss the Colima, or do you make sure you get it on every tour?
You know, I would say we will have maybe a 65 to, or I would say like, yeah, 75% chances of, you know, or, but I would say above 50% chances, you know, because we are, you know, actually the tour is designed to spend, you know, a good amount of time in their habitat. I believe, you know, the population of this bird is not very large. So, as I said, you know, we have to do mostly like an auditive detection, and part of the challenge is also the density of the foliage, you know, in these mountain forests that they like to be in. So we will have plenty of chances, you know, during most of the like I would say from day 4 all the way into, actually from day 3 or 4 all the way into day 9, we have chances of encountering Colima warbler, you know. So
And it's and you had mentioned before it's very local.
yes,
Right. So
yeah.
if you go to the right site, the right time, what's kind of the best time of year to get Colima warbler? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, in the you know, any time between mid-November until mid-March. You know, I think that will be our window. And for me, you know, I work also very closely with other local guides that are in that area.
Yeah.
And also one of the advantages, you know, that we have is that we work also with scientists who are constantly doing monitoring. And so we can get their help, you know, and their assistance. Since we also, you know, as an organization, we also contribute, you know, to their science projects, and we are collaborators. So I guess we have a disadvantage, you know, that we have other radars, you know, around to help us, you know, with those with those target species.
Gotcha. And so, and then typically is it, I mean, it's not like a walk up a mountain. It's like the typical birding to get Colima is like, I mean, is it roadside, or you got to go down a trail a little bit, or what's kind of the usual happening? So it sounds like there's so many different times to get in it, you really don't always know. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
We'll do a lot of birding from the main road, you know. I mean from dirt roads, and small. I mean, eventually we can go into small. Into smaller, into trails, you know, but not necessarily, you know, it's not a bird that you have to go like deep in the bush. Of course, you know, species like this will require a little more strategy, you know, and just like trying to keep the the group focus, on finding them, and but they, like the Colima warbler, they like to be in like bushes, and like small shrubs that are not necessarily very high in the trees. So I think with some diligence and good teamwork, we're very likely to encounter them. Or
Right.
I would say at least 50% to 70% chances of seeing them.
Right. And in the right season, a little bit better chance. And usually without like a big, like 5-mile walk, it's actually could be roadside even. That's great.
Exactly.
Any other questions out there, folks? I got one we can answer at the end.
Hello, in the Laguna Maria National Park, what kind of water birds may we expect to see?
Thank you for that question.
Water bird?
Yeah, she said in the water areas, in the
Laguna
wetlands.
Maria.
Yeah, at Laguna Maria.
So actually, the Laguna Maria is interesting because it is a higher elevation site. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, this is still a higher elevation area. And since it is relatively close to the coast, we can find like grebes, like least grebe, and many water birds actually, like American white pelican, and like some other aquatic birds, that would like to be over in that area. Also, birds like a bird-throated tiger heron, that it's also an endemic to Mexico, that like to be in this even if it's a higher elevation site, it still has like this I guess more tropical areas, and since it is relatively close to the coast, many coastal species will kind of make it up into that area, and some of the birds that we will see next are also
Nice fix. Okay, hearing no other questions, we'll cruise on, and I think we have one geographical site left, correct?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Great. So we'll sort of do some wrap up questions at about 4 to 8 minutes.
So when we make it down to the coast, to Manzanillo, some of the highlights that we can find, and also that sort of overlap with this sort of intermediate lagoon, the Laguna Maria, are birds like the yellow grosbeak that I'll show you in a moment. Also the russet-crowned motmot, but it's the only motmot that we have in Western Mexico. Other species like the rose-throated becard that we're very likely to see. Happy wren, Sinaloa wren, lesser ground cuckoo that it's more challenging, and the flammulated flycatcher that it's also relatively difficult but possible to find. Here's a view of the San Blas jay that we're very likely to see during the first and last days of the trip at the lowlands. This is a view of the happy wren. It has a very, very melodic call, and they are skulky, but we're likely to see them during the trip. Here we have a yellow grosbeak. These birds are also relatively frequent on the lowlands. I wouldn't say very easy, but we're likely to see them, probably at least 50% chances. Russet-crowned motmot. This is a more common species. that likes to be in all the way from sea level to maybe 12 or 1500 meters above sea level. Very, very beautiful bird. This is the rose-throated bighorn. This is a common species in the lowlands and the thorn forest and also mangrove forests and coastal lagoons. The cinnamon hummingbird, it's also one of the very common sightings that we are likely to see in the lowlands. It's sort of our dominant hummingbird species in the lowlands of Western Mexico. Here in the screen, we have a Colima pygmy owl. So we're likely to see other owls like the ferruginous pygmy owl that it's not endemic, and it's also one of the Glaucidium owls. And in the lowlands, this is one of the endemics that we can see, and actually they can go into some like the Colima pygmy owl. I wouldn't say it's very easy to find. I would say probably 50% or less chances of seeing them. But it is possible. And the Rufous-backed robin is one of the common endemic species that we can find in lower elevations, and also on mid and higher elevation we can find its cousin, the white-throated robin, that it's also endemic. They're in the Turdus genus. And here in the screen, we have the blue bunting. This is a male. Also, the blue bunting, they're relatively common, in grassy areas. And I think we have probably over 75% chances of seeing them. And that's about it for my presentation. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all in Mexico. And I don't know if there's any more questions or
great.
comments.
Any more questions out there, and then we'll do a couple of we'll just do a little bit of administrative stuff, and there's a couple other questions out there. So one question is, what months do the migrants come through? And you guys get migrants from the far south, and then you get stuff coming from the north. So you get a couple migratory seasons, right?
That is correct. Yes. So during the trip in December, we're going to have mostly migratory species coming from the U.S. and Canada that are actually starting to arrive now. Right now we're starting to have the first migrants, and by early December, most of them will be settled and wintering. And also something that I like to mention is that December is already into our dry season, so we are not very likely to have rain. And one of the advantages of the dry season is that the leaves start falling, because many of the forests are deciduous or semi-deciduous forests. So when the leaves go down, we're more likely to see the birds. We have better chances of finding them, which is also part of the reasons why we choose this part of the year.
Great. Any other questions out there, folks? I'll do the quick administrative duty here, which is I almost mentioned somebody's full name, but if we mentioned your name during the video conference, it will be shared on YouTube and on our website. Feel free to contact us at service@pibird.com, and we will delete your content there, though I've been very careful about not mentioning anybody's full name, though I did get one first name in there. So do contact us if you need us to do an edit there. But all the sort of digital stuff about who's on the group, none of that is on the video. So don't worry about that. And then, you know, truly would love to get you guys on a birding tour, whether it's Mexico or anything else. Feel free to reach out. And we do keep our group sizes small, 6 to 8 people. And we do birding tours around the world. So do reach out. And we always use premier local guides. I think Luis's expertise for this part of Mexico really showed. And I'm sure you'd have a great tour. Any other questions out there, folks?
There was one question that
Yeah, shoot.
other walks usually done drive uphill and walk downhill.
Yeah, no, I was going to contact that person after the tour because that would take a little bit of customization because we do like to keep the group together for sort of safety reasons. But it could be accomplishable, but I'd have to research it more. So if that individual wants to reach out to me at charles@pibird.com, I'm happy to answer your question about starting at the top and walking down. But we always got to be careful about safety issues. But let's talk about it, but not here on the big video conference. There's a question about mannequin species seen on the tour. What mannequins usually pop up on this, and are there the big null?
We are a little bit north, you know, from mannequins. Normally, the mannequins that we have in Mexico occur in the state of Chiapas, which is close to the border with Guatemala. So yeah, in this area, we don't have any mannequin species. What we do have is some parrots. You know, I didn't mention many of the parrot species, but 2 of the endemic parrots that we can see are the lilac crowned and the Mexican parrotlet. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any mannequins on this particular trip.